Most people paying off debt are doing it in the order that feels right. Smallest balance first, or just paying minimums everywhere and throwing extra at whatever stressed them out most that month. Both of those approaches are leaving thousands of dollars on the table. There's a specific mathematical sequence for paying off debt that minimizes the total interest you pay, and once I ran the numbers, the difference was just over $10,000. Let me show you what that looks like. If you have debt, you've probably had this experience. You make a payment, you feel like you're making progress, and then you look at the balance a month later and it's barely moved. The minimum payment on a $5,000 credit card at 22% APR is designed to keep you in debt for over a decade and to cost you more in interest than the original balance. You can pay faithfully every month for years and feel like you're running in place. And you've probably had the moment where you really sat down and calculated how long it would actually take to pay everything off at your current rate. That number is usually a lot bigger than you expected, and it produces a specific kind of dread that makes some people just stop looking at the total balance entirely. The debt doesn't feel manageable because the interest makes it a moving target. You're not paying down a fixed number, you're racing against a balance that's actively growing back toward you every 30 days. So here's the question that actually matters. Is there a way to pay the same amount of money every month and dramatically reduce what you hand to the lender in interest? Yes, definitively yes, and the mechanism is simpler than most people think. Let me show you exactly how it works. You've probably heard of the debt snowball, pay smallest balance first for psychological momentum. Dave Ramsey built an entire media empire on this approach, and to be clear, it works for a lot of people. But here's what rarely gets said out loud. It is mathematically the more expensive option in the majority of debt scenarios. The debt avalanche, targeting the highest interest rate first, consistently costs less in total interest paid. A 2012 study published in the Journal of Marketing Research found that people naturally gravitate toward paying down the smallest balance, and that this behavior leads to higher total interest payments. The study estimated the average difference in the thousands of dollars for a typical multi-debt household. Here's the specific mechanism that makes it work. Credit card interest compounds daily on most cards. So a 24% APR card is actually accruing 0.066% per day on your balance. The longer a high-rate balance stays large, the more it compounds. Targeting it first flattens the compounding curve early, and that difference in compounding time is exactly where the $10,000 in savings came from for me. The reason people aren't told this clearly isn't malice. It's that the emotionally satisfying method keeps people engaged and motivated, so it gets more press. But engagement and lowest cost are not always the same thing. And once you understand the math, you can make a real choice between them. This is not a character flaw. Most people were never shown how compound interest works on debt, only on savings accounts. That gap in knowledge is exactly what the lending industry depends on. The debt avalanche has a specific setup process. Most people skip the setup and go straight to making payments, which is why it often fails even for people who understand the concept. Step 1. Build your complete debt inventory. Every debt. The balance, the interest rate, the minimum payment. Not from memory, from the actual statements. Most people are carrying rate assumptions in their heads that are 2 to 5 percentage points off. This step takes 20 minutes and is the foundation everything else is built on. Step 2. Rank by interest rate, highest to lowest. That's your payoff order. The highest rate debt is your target, regardless of its balance size. If your 24% credit card has a $6,000 balance, and your 8% car loan has a $3,000 balance, you target the credit card first, even though the car loan is smaller. Here's why most people skip this. It feels slower at first. The high-rate balance might be large enough that it takes months before you see the number drop significantly. That psychological delay is the main cost of the avalanche method. And it's worth knowing going in so it doesn't feel like the strategy isn't working. Step 3. Pay minimums on everything except the target debt. Every dollar of extra payment goes to the highest rate debt only. The moment that debt hits zero, take everything you were paying toward it. The minimum plus the extra, and redirect the full amount to the next highest rate. That's the avalanche. The payment amount grows as each debt falls. Step 4. Don't reduce the total monthly payment. This is the step that determines whether you actually save money or just rearrange it. Every dollar you save from a closed debt must go immediately to the next one. If the total you're paying toward debt shrinks because you freed up a minimum payment and started spending it, the math stops working. Let me walk through what this looked like for my situation. I had $680 a month going to 4 debts. A 24% credit card at $3,200, an 18% card at $1,100, a 10% personal loan at $4,500, and a 6% car loan at $8,000. I had been doing the Snowball, so I was targeting the $1,100 card first. When I switched to the Avalanche and ran the numbers forward 3 years, the total interest paid dropped by $10,340. Same $680 a month. Same debts. Different order. Now I already know what some of you are thinking. The Avalanche makes mathematical sense, but I've tried it, and I quit because I couldn't see progress fast enough. That is the most common real failure mode of this method, and it deserves a real answer. Here's the fix. Celebrate payoff milestones in percentage terms, not just full payoffs. When you've eliminated 25% of the target balance, that's a milestone. When you hit 50%, that's a milestone. If you're waiting for the entire $6,000 credit card to hit zero before you feel anything, you're going to wait a long time in silence. Track the percentage weekly. Watch it move. That's where the motivation lives while the balance is still large. Some people also do a hybrid. Pay off one small debt first for the win, then switch to Avalanche for the rest. If one symbolic win is what it takes to stay in the game, that is worth the small mathematical cost. The best debt strategy is the one you actually execute. Remember the feeling I described, making faithful payments for 18 months and looking up to realize the balance had barely moved? That's what compound interest does when it's working against you. Understanding how to sequence your payoffs turns that same compounding math into something that works for you instead. $10,000 is a real number. It's not a rounding error. It's a year of emergency fund. It's a down payment contribution. It's a full year of retirement contributions. The money was always going somewhere. This just redirects it back to you. If this helped, subscribe. I put out one of these every week and they build on each other. And if you want to go deeper on building savings once your debt is gone, specifically the $1,000 savings challenge that anyone can start this week, I linked that video right here. Watch that one next.